Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to the Dice Tower, and today I want to take a look at a game called Salton Sea from DeVere Games. This is from their line of games where they have them in the small size boxes, although, as always, it's almost impossible to get everything in. I shouldn't say almost impossible, but it's very difficult to get everything in, and I'm still confused as to why DeVere does this when they have a large size box line like Batoku and stuff. Why not just put it in one of those boxes so I don't have to sit there and Jenga every time? But I digress. I never heard of the Salton Sea. I looked it up. It's a unique place located in California where there's this very salty lake, and it's a good place to get geothermal energy, and they're extracting brine and drilling and stuff. And so that's the theme of this game. You're extracting this brine, you're drilling down. And this game is a game that has a hook, and the hook here, mechanically, is that there are cards that are both money cards and action style cards. Let me show you. In Salton Sea, there's a lot of things going on. I'm not going to be able to explain the whole game, but I do want to explain the concept of money in this game. So in this game, these cards are worth money, but they're also action cards. This is a worker placement game where you will be placing workers on your board. Anywhere where there are these diagonal lines, you can place a worker and take that action. But the cards that you have are better versions of these actions. So this is this exact same action, but with a discount of 2 money. And so I can play that card next to my board and put the worker on that because it has those diagonal lines on it instead of going here. Many things cost money in this game, so you'll be spending money, which means you'll lose those action cards. So you have to decide which of your action cards. You will start with all the major actions, 7 different cards. So you have money that you'll start with, but you might need to immediately spend money, and you have to decide which action cards to get rid of. So the different actions that are in the game, and you're going to be collecting different types of goods here. You can see the different goods that you're going to be collecting, and as the game goes by, you'll be able to unlock bigger spots so you have more storage for goods. You're also going to be drilling. So whenever you drill, there's a drill bit here, so you need to drill farther down. You're going to get more cards by paying for these on the board, and then drilling down farther here, and then taking the goods that are on the cards so that you can then use those for other things. But when you drill, there's going to be rocks that you drill through sometimes to get to the better loads, and your drill will take damage, which you'll have to repair because when it gets to a certain point, you can't use it anymore, and also you'll lose points at the end of the game based on how far it is. Just like if you overwork your men, they're not going to work anymore. But so you'll need to get that back so that you can do more with them. So the different actions we'll be getting a drilling license. Drilling licenses are here next to the board, and they cost a certain amount of money to buy, which again, like I said, you don't have many. You can drill to get the different brine and extract that brine. There's drilling to move the drill down, then extracting it. You can also process the brine, which if you look here, you'll be able to turn that brine into other resources. But again, that costs money, although you can push your men to make more of it, although again, you're going to have to figure out how to fix that later on. You can also sell resources, and there are 3 different companies in the middle of the table, and these are people that you're going to be selling resources to. As you sell resources, the prices of them are going to go up, and these prices will change throughout the game. You will be buying shares in these companies, which will give you bonus tiles that you'll get as the game goes by, and also allow you to move on your upgrade track, which can give you more workers or more storage space. You're also trying to fulfill contracts. These contracts will need a certain number of resources. They give you rewards on them. You see this one's worth 10 points, gives you $5, which is great because I get $5. I can take one of these really great action cards, but I also have $5. So players will start with a certain number of workers that they're going to place out doing all these actions, and as they move this upgrade track, they can get up to 3 more workers, as well as, like I said, increase their storage space. At the end of a round, some of these cards are going to switch out, and you'll be sliding over these rows. There's one more row than the number of player. There are special ability cards you can get that will give you discounts and other things to use over the course of the game. But you're going to get any card that you play to work around will come back into your hand, so you'll be able to use it again as either that action or as money, and you'll keep going. Now, at the end of the game, you get 2 points for every $3 in your hand. So money is worth stuff. The shares you have will be multiplied by however valuable the company is, the points next to that company. Products that you have in your resource department will give you points, but most of your points will have come from contracts that you have fulfilled, also having met these different goals that are randomly placed out in the middle of the table, adding that to your shares and everything else, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Salton Sea is definitely a heavy game. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of things to think about as you play through this game. There's so many different actions. When other people are playing, it's definitely who's going to get to places first. Like, am I going to go get one of those spots to drill at? You know, there's always a cheaper one out there available, but maybe I want one of the more expensive ones. So that's something I want to run for. There's the special ability cards at the top. Is getting one of those special ability cards useful at the beginning of the game? Hint, yes, they are. Or do I want to actually drill and get the brine and then sell the brine? Because selling the brine gets you money, and money gets you those action cards. Or do I want to, just get one of these contracts early on, and if I get a contract, I can fulfill that and get some points and stuff. There's a lot of different actions, and there's going to be a lot of slowing down. If you're thinking about this, you have these workers to place, and you're deciding where to put them, and you're not in a worker placement game. This one, you are placing them on the board in front of you. So I'm not putting something in a spot that you can't. We can do the same actions, although most actions you can only do once. But it's the stuff in the middle of the board that you're fighting over, and sometimes me selling something or doing something will change the price of one of the resources that you need. Now, like I said, the hook of the game is the fact that the money cards are action cards, and it's a fascinating hook. I love this so much. Like I said, you start the game with those 7 cards, and I'm going to do something right away that costs 4 money. I'm like, well, which 4 cards am I going to give up? Because using the cards is great. You put the card down, and it's a better version. Maybe it lets you drill, but your drill it takes less damage when you drill. That's great. Or it lets you buy something, but for a discount. I love that you have these cards, and I also love that at the end of your turn, they come back in your hand. And then it gives you that angst and anxiety when you get rid of the cards. And this mechanism is good. Now, it does feed into, again, the analysis paralysis that can come out. Because you have, I think, one more card than the number of players out there next to the board. And so in a 4-player game, that's a big display of cards. Now, the cards do follow certain, these cards are always going to be the same type of action. There's only so many actions, and I think you can get there where you know stuff, but you do have a dizzying array of options as you look all over the place and see what you can build. So you have to realize that. I think that's one of the detractions of the game, is the fact if you have people who will slow a game down, that could be problematic. But the game is definitely what we call Euro-style game, but it's also very heavy on the economics, because of the money, and because in the middle, that's essentially a stock market there for the 3 different companies that are buying brine and the other resources, and you're buying kind of shares in those companies to score points at the end of the game. Here's where the game doesn't live up to my expectations. Everything I've said so far, I really enjoy. I enjoyed the theming of it. I liked putting the cards underneath and drilling down and pulling out, extracting the stuff. That was cool. I liked do you want to sell brine for short-term money, or do you want to convert it into the other resources to fulfill the contract? So I want to get a special ability. How do I use these actions? Do I want to be involved in the stock market stuff in the middle? There's so many different things to do, and I think all that stuff is great. Where the game grinds to a halt for me, and what makes me give it a lower rating, is just how tight the game is economically. And I understand in a lot of these games, you can, you're going to get better as games go by. And that's definitely the case here. As time goes by, you'll learn to get more. But man, every game, you start with 7 money. You're going to spend that money almost instantly. Then you're scrounging, like you drill for brine, and you're like, well, I got to sell the brine, right? I mean, I got to get some money back, and it feels, when you get one of those level 3 cards, you're like, oh, and the 5 cards, it's like,
Indiana Jones finding this amazing discovery. They're great. And I suppose on one hand, you're saying, well, that's why money's so tight, because those cards then become so valuable. It's just, to me, as I love the angst of saying, use the action or pay the money. What I don't love is it doesn't really matter what the action is because I need to pay the money all the time. I just wish there was a little more influx of money in the game. I don't know. I wouldn't know how to fix it everyone gets a $3 card. That would probably throw the economy of the game off, and people are going to tell me I'm crazy and everything. But this tightness, this belt, kind of hurt my opinions of everything else in the game. Like, I would probably have given the game a 7 or an 8 rating. I think there's so many interesting, unique things about it. But because the money flow was so restrictive, I'm giving this game a 5. Because after 2 hours, which is about the length of the game, maybe faster if you're playing 2 players or so, but it's probably a good 2-hour game. And in the game, I'm just clawing and scratching my way to scoring points. I'm not saying it's impossible. It definitely is. You will get money and you will get stuff done. But it feels like I've gone to a banquet table with all this cool stuff, but I can only get a few of the things. And again, that might be your style. And if that's the case, I think you're going to love this game. I just need more. I don't want to feel like my next 4 turns are just me going, ugh, ugh. Because everything else about the game, I really did enjoy. So this might be a personal thing, but you just need to know what it is going into Salton Sea, and I think that's going to change how people think about it. That concept of the cards being money and action cards, though, is great. I would love to see that used again. I think the theme is a very interesting one. It's the way I learned stuff I didn't know before. And the production, it's too small, obviously, in that box and too big for that box. But other than that, DeVere does a good job on that, and so I was pretty happy with how everything looked. The symbology, there's a lot of symbols, but I thought it was not particularly difficult to understand. So all that stuff's fine, but unfortunately I'm still giving this a 5, simply because it's just not a game that I enjoyed, because it started out exciting, but as each game, as I go through, I'm like, oh, and it just feels more punishing. And while some people love that, not really my jam or my salt. Anyway, so that's Salton Sea. I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.